Hello and welcome to Data Visualization 2, part of the Data Topics Workshop series. I'm Ryan Womack, Data Librarian at Rutgers University Libraries, and this video version of the workshop will be divided into parts. The parts correspond to the information on the Data Visualization 2 webpage or other formatted document. So we're going to have 7 parts: overview, setup, Shiny basics, publishing your Shiny app, some extras, other topics, and running your own Shiny server. Those will vary quite a bit in length, but just to keep the reference numbers similar to the guide so you can find the section you want, that's the way we'll do it. So I'm going to start with an overview. The links that are in the description below correspond to what you see here. There's the data topics guide that sits on my web page. There's very similar information on the Rutgers LibGuide version, libguides.rutgers.edu, data topics, which will take you back out to the formatted guides on my page, but also has a little bit of extra information like upcoming workshops, live workshops in our series, links to other guides, and the code for this is downloadable from my site, but it's ultimately hosted on my GitHub site, so you have that link as well. So you can pull all the code at once with a git pull or download the bundle from GitHub. So you have several options of how to get the material. But I'm going to start from the data topics landing page on my guide. Click on Data Visualization 2. This is visualization basically with Shiny. There are other interactive visualization tools. We'll touch on them just very briefly in this session, but we're talking about Shiny. The Data Visualization 1 that this will align with is coming later. As you may have heard if you look at my other videos, I'm phasing in this new approach, newly formatted material. It's overlapping right now in end of 2024 with my previous workshop series called the Tidyverse Approach. The ggplot module in Tidyverse Approach is basically talking about similar things that the Data Visualization 1 unit will cover when it's rolled out. Since this is the overview, I'm just explaining all this stuff before we actually get into code, but the format of the material on the site, the same content is in several different formats. So if you prefer to take a look at a PDF of this same information, download it and keep it, there's formatted as a PDF, there's formatted as a Word file, there's the Quarto file, which is the format that is used inside RStudio to generate these documents, and that contains the R code embedded. So you can use that, or if you just want the script, you can download the script. And there's also an option to switch to dark mode HTML. Sometimes I present these in dark mode. I think for today I'll present in light mode, since we'll be toggling over to the Shiny website, which is a light background. It'll be kind of distracting to swap back and forth. Okay, so when you most of the time I will be launching from the view we see right now, the light background version of Data Visualization 2 in HTML. And so for this overview, let's just get familiar with what I said. Shiny. What is Shiny? If you already know what Shiny is, you may want to skip to a later segment of this video, but I'm going to open up these links. Shiny is a project of the POSIT people. POSIT are the people who develop RStudio and many other R packages. They rebranded from RStudio to POSIT because their tools are now not just for R, but also for Python, and will be open to other programming languages in the future. So Shiny now works with R and with Python. Now I'm an R person mostly, so I will be giving you examples in R, but for the purpose of this intro, we can take a look at this Python side and see that there are galleries of material in Python to show you the kinds of interactive graphics that you can do. We'll look at this same thing in R in just a second. And there are learning modules for the Python environment as well. So what Shiny does is take either standard R code or standard Python code for creating visualizations and puts it in a framework that makes it easily convertible to the web and easy to plug in interactive components like certain widgets that let us select and change the view of the data in different ways. So let's go back just to the intro page, right? And the Shiny for R segment has this same collection of information. This really is sort of the master reference for anything Shiny related. And let's look at the R gallery in just a little bit more detail. So we will see some of these very basic interactive applications in action in just a moment, but I'll show you something that's slightly more complicated. It's been around, these examples have been on this site actually for quite a while. There are more elaborate, newer examples, but these are sort of the classic examples. Here's one that's a movie explorer, and the dots here represent different films from a certain time period. They're up to 2014. If you hover over one, this is one aspect of interactivity, you can see the name of the movie, the year it was produced, and the box office that it did. So Terminator Salvation in 2009 did $125 million of business. Also, the highlighted bubbles are ones that have won an Oscar for, presumably that's not only Best Picture, there's a lot of dots, so Best Actor, maybe, probably several Oscar categories. There are 2,557 movies currently displayed, right? But notice that we can change this interactivity. I think it actually starts in 1970, the data, so even though I slid it back to 1940, nothing changed. But if I do something that modifies that, if I say, let's just show me from 1990 to current, actually the number just reduced ever so slightly. So I think it's actually even more recent data set. Let's do 2004 to 2014. Now we can see some significant change. The dots thinned out. There's 1,900 movies. And, all these sliders, right, that are here let us filter the data in different ways. I could say, I need movies from 2004 forward. I don't care how many reviews they get on Rotten Tomatoes. Just show me anything reviewed. Okay, there's 3,000. There's a sort of odd pattern of curvature here of things that have very low and very high ratings, but very low box office. I guess these are sort of small indie movies that don't seem to be randomly scattered there. But I would like to only see movies that in a certain genre. So I could say, show me, for example, the horror movies. Because that's a facet in the data set, we can filter, and now we have 235 movies in this window from 2004 to 2014. Various horror movies, 30 Days of Night, Saw, Let the Right One In, very highly rated, what's this one? Fantastic Movie Trailers. I don't know that one, but that's highly rated. Only 2 of these have won the Oscar, right? Because horror movies not considered to be terribly prestigious. Sweeney Todd, I guess, and The Wolf Man are the exceptions. So you get the idea, right? The great thing about an interactive visualization is it puts the power in the user's hands to explore the data. They can get much more detailed windows into the data itself by all of these multiple views that they can check for, and bring out that power, right? Because from a research point of view, we want to just understand our data better. And the interactivity, yes, it's fun. Yes, it can look nice. But understanding the data and being able to focus just on the parts that interest us is very important. Also, another thing that we didn't check here is that we can actually change the X and Y axis here. So we don't care about the tomato meter, but we are interested does the length of the movie have anything to do with the amount of money that it takes in? So let's do Y-axis dollars at the box office and X-axis length. Our one super popular movie, World War Z, was near the 2-hour mark. Most of these movies are up to 2 hours, centering around 100 minutes. There's one here, very long, Grindhouse. That was a double feature, right? So therefore it's about twice as long, is the one sort of outlier there. And second longest in this time period is Thirst, 2009. Interesting. That it's a movie that doesn't feel that long, but it's actually is long for a horror movie. So you could, with these ability to make these changes in what you're looking at, obviously you can decide like what aspects you're going to analyze. Other tools, you can use JavaScript, you can use Plotly, you can use different things. Actually, Plotly is compatible with Shiny. That's something else I think I'll mention again. There are other tools that give you interactivity, but if you're in this R world and now Python friendly as well, you may already have an idea how you want to do the graphing in R, and Shiny lets you package it up, put it in an interactive web format, and that's what this whole workshop is going to explore. Everything on the Shiny site itself, these examples, let you see the code behind the example, right? So we can link to the source code. We can see the R code that actually runs this, and we won't go into this particular example, but you can see that this server is 116 lines of code to run what we just saw on the screen. So that's not terribly complex. It's probably too complex to talk about in a short workshop. So we will stick with even simpler examples. But just know that the examples we will be working from in the upcoming segments there's no grand difference, right, between that and working production examples that are out being used for different purposes. Okay, so we looked at the gallery, we looked at the Shiny site itself, and I may circle back to show you some of the little things that I've built with it. They're nothing fancy, but just, again, part of the point of my workshops is if I can do it, I think you can do it, right? I come at these things without a deep background, without special knowledge, and you can do that. But let's look at one more example here. This is a blog post about someone who created an app to work with, to interactively work with ggplot2 visualizations, right? So the previous segment, the data visualization one that has not been recorded yet. That is, I'm talking about it before it actually exists, but in that segment, ggplot2 is a major focus, and this is a Shiny site that lets you poke around in the ggplot library of functions and do some interactive stuff with them, right? So we can change the sort of style of a display. That's not good, I think. And that's like a thickness of a line. The transparency. This one doesn't have too many things to play around with, but if let's say we wanted, to just kind of figure out how a function worked and how we might like it to display, this allows us to do that and then actually display the underlying function, right? So behind the scenes, when we change the color, the Shiny app is passing this information, color equals green, to the function that's displaying this. But we can actually, in this example, tell it to show us the function that generated this plot. And in a sense, this is a quicker way to get a feel for many different types of visualization. We can quickly just kind of poke around and examine. Here's something appropriate for 3 variables, a contour map. The sort of form that the display takes can be customized in similar ways across these, but this is not so this is a little bit of a different example of an app, right? It's an app that does not show you just one data set. The app is showing you the functions in action, right? So a different kind of usage. There are many kinds of things you can do with these interactive displays. And so again, just before we jump into specific coding examples, that's just another example to give you a feel of what Shiny is capable of. Okay, and so finally in this overview part, this workshop is built off of the guide Mastering Shiny, which is freely available on the web. You can get print versions of this if you're interested, but the website has the complete content. And like a lot of these guides, we took a similar approach to the packages, our packages. The guide is very comprehensive. The guide is going to talk in detail about things that I'm only going to touch on. So I would always refer you back here to learn more and resolve some of the issues. In particular, we're going to touch on this concept of reactivity. I'll get into that more later. The book / website has the better and more complete discussion of reactivity when you get to the point that becomes an issue that you want to study. At Rutgers, we have the O'Reilly collection, which you could log into. The O'Reilly collection has the officially published version of this guide. I'm probably going to get hit with the Duo authentication, so I'm not going to actually log in here. But the links on this page will take you to that officially published version, and you can just type Shiny there, and you can get other videos, other books, other online interactive tutorials that will take you further in this journey. So I will close the initial overview segment here and look for you in part 2, where we'll talk about the setup.